Britain has chosen to leave the European Union, and to the dismay of global elites everywhere. Um, you know, and I think that's where I want to land. That's where I want to start. I want to start with Brexit. Um, Not so much the step-by-step breakdown of what the European is and why Britain left in the referendum, because you can find enough explanations out there for it. I want to talk about the mental, not gymnastics, being mentally ambidextrous, the ability to be opposed to something but not supporting those who are also opposed to it. Yeah, I can start there. And I think in that way, that's another way that the story about Brexit is analogous to what's happening here in the United States. Because I was reading a great not explanation, but just a deeper dive into a left critique of the European Union and the reasons that people on the left may have opposed the relationship that Britain had with the European Union and the disparity that ensued, right? But that didn't mean that people on the left generally aligned with the nativists, the anti-immigration crowd, those who were promulgating a certain level of hate that really was used to capitalize on the anti-elite, anti-establishment sentiment that existed in Britain. Now, if I hadn't said Britain, you really could have thought I was talking about the United States. And right there on that intersection is where these two stories, the United States, Trump's rise in the United States, and the exit of Britain from the European Union, they're very similar. And they're similar because there is a problem with the status quo. And we talk about this all the time, but there's very much a problem with the status quo. There's very much a problem with the social economic framework that we exist under. There's a problem with wealth being amassed at the top to the detriment of those at the bottom. There are a lot of things for us to critique our current economic system on. And there's a lot of people who feel that this system, and you could choose your nation, the United States or Britain, you choose, right? Whether there's a lot of people who feel that the system has left them out. And in fact, it's not just a feeling, it's statistically demonstrated that there are a lot of people who are completely left out of this economic system. And if you are completely left out of this economic system, you have no vested interest in protecting it. It's not rocket science. I think I saw a basic summary saying that if you had money, you voted to remain. If you didn't have money, you voted to leave. You voted to exit. And I was reading this summary of the summation of the leftist critique, and not even the leftist critique, but more of a critique of the elite's critique of those who voted to leave, by Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept. And it really is an indictment of the elite class, those people who are so disconnected from the average, the working class. Right. They have really no grounding in understanding the perception of people, or the perspective rather, of the working class. And the only thing they do instead is they deride the working class. And they find a particular subset of the working class that they can vilify and make it seem as though anyone who doesn't align with the elitist sentiment is therefore aligned with this subset of the working class that is repulsive. And again, am I talking about the U.S. or am I talking about Brexit? Because in the U.S., we do the same exact thing. Our elite, whether it is the Hillary Clinton class of elites, or whether it is the Rockefeller Republican elites, those that can't really stomach Donald Trump, and those that are leaving the Republican Party because they can't stomach this nativism that Donald Trump is fostering, they really have vilified a subset of the working class because it's easy to do that. It's easy to do that and point to this subset of the working class and say they are the real problems because they are racist, because they are anti-immigration, and because of them, all of the woes, all the problems that you have in the world it's because of them. Much like Donald Trump has pointed to immigration, to Islam, and created this caricature of a boogeyman. Everybody needs a boogeyman. Everybody needs a boogeyman, and for Donald Trump, the boogeyman is Mexicans or Muslims, and for the elite, the boogeyman is the white working class, or Donald Trump, depending on who they're trying to convince, right? And so this article by Greenwald really pointed to the complete exasperation that people have when they have to choose between this elitist system that excludes them and the boogeyman that the elitist system puts up to try to convince you that even though this elite system is screwing you, we're not as bad as the boogeyman. And for Europe, or for Britain at least, the boogeyman was all of the terrible things that would happen if we exit the European Union. And the boogeyman was these nationalistic, these nativistic races that are a subset of the working class, right? They tried to make the racists out to be the entirety of the working class. And if you agree with anything, or rather, let me say it a little differently. If you didn't fight against Brexit, then you were synonymous with the racist nativists. Bring that to the United States of America. Actually, I'm not ready to bring it to the United States of America yet. I might, for valid reasons, I might bring it to the United States a little bit later. But right now, I'm not going to bring it to the United States of America. But still, it's this casual dismissal, and it's this not even casual. It is a very calculated dismissal of the working class, and this idea that the working class is the problem, because in that subset of the working class are the racist nativists who wanted to leave the European Union only to get rid of all of the immigration and all of the refugees and to make Europe great again, or to make Britain great again. So, and you actually have to read this article. And now, David, if you don't mind grabbing it out of the notes and throwing it into the chat room, because Greenwald actually quoted Chris Hayes from All In with Chris Hayes on MSNBC. Now, Chris Hayes made a great observation over the weekend with regard to Brexit. And he was saying he doesn't want a type of politics that is both the type of politics that forces you to choose between nativism and nationalism and a cosmopolitan finance capitalism. In other words, he doesn't, and I synthesized that down a little bit more and rearranged it a little bit and made it a little simpler for people to grasp it quickly. We don't want a politics that forces you to choose between a neo-Nazi or neo-fascism and neoliberalism. And that's essentially where we are. Right? On a national level, we're at the point where we have to choose between someone who flirts with neo-fascism, someone who doesn't speak out against white supremacy, someone who literally has the support of Nazis, neo-Nazis, and who happens to also be a neoliberal. Let's not get it twisted. Donald Trump is just as much a neoliberal as the opposite side of the coin, which is Hillary Clinton, neoliberal. And so we're forced into this horrible choice on a national level. Either we'll find ourselves supporting someone. And now, again, Chris Hayes' context was in reference to Brexit. My context is in reference to the United States. It's the same exact paradigm. And so this is the place we are on a national and an international level in many regards, where the elites around the world who have a vested interest in protecting this system have no connection with the pain and the suffering, the economic pain and suffering of millions of people who at a certain point have just completely rejected the system, and they're willing to say that they would rather take their chances with destroying the entire system, i.e. the European Union, than to continue to trust the global elites that have screwed us at so many junctions. That's a fascinating concept. It's not quite one that I personally can subscribe to yet. I'm almost there. And I understand a lot of people in my audience, you're already there. You've been there for a while, right? And good on you. You know, that's good for you. And I don't even believe that I don't know that I would ever get there to the point where I would either directly support or indirectly support a movement that is catalyzed, that uses racism, nativism, nationalism as a catalyst to promote themselves. Donald Trump is not out there to do anything but promote himself. Nigel Farage, I believe his last name is if you heard his interview the very next morning, all of his promises fell apart right before Britain's eyes, right? So they're there expressly to promote their own self-interest, using the anguish and the anger of the populations that have been eviscerated by this globalized, by not just globalization, but a very particular type of globalization, neoliberalism. And they do so on the back of hatred, racism, fear-mongering. I can't say that I'm at the point where I can no. I can say this. I would never directly, I want to make that clear. I could never directly, no matter my frustration with neoliberalism, I could never directly support something like Donald Trump, because he is both a neoliberal and he is someone who at a minimum gets the support. Not all perfect. Here we go. Not all Donald Trump supporters are racist, clearly. Some of them are really good people. But all the racists and all the neo-Nazis and they are all falling in line behind Donald Trump because he's giving voice. He's giving a platform. He's given the anointing, the seal of approval, right? So me personally, and I'm hoping that people in my audience, I hope that as frustrated as you may be with the system, that you're not at the point where, oh yeah, hell, Donald Trump, because you're not erasing the very problem that you've identified in neoliberalism. You're just bringing neoliberalism married with neo-fascism. Because don't get it twisted. This is the difference between Europe, Britain leaving the EU, and Trumpism is not that getting Trump into office would have the ability to bring down the entire system like the domino effect of Britain leaving the UK. I mean, God, the EU. It's there. That's where the parallels fall apart, because Donald Trump getting into office would not bring an end to neoliberalism by far. And to me, it will make an insurgency out of the current Democratic Party. Can you imagine? And I'll take this caller. Can you imagine the fundraising that will ensue if Donald Trump becomes president? I mean, on day one. I mean, before the inauguration, On November 7th, November 8th, if Donald Trump becomes president, the fundraising that will be poured into the current Democratic Party would only go to bolster it. Only. And so to me, as I look at Brexit and I say, and I can see that people are so hurt economically and so left out of this global elite system that they have no vested interest in protecting it. None whatsoever. Why would somebody with no investments, with nothing in the markets, be concerned about the crash of the markets caused by the Brexit? Why would somebody who can barely already afford food be concerned about the drop in the value of the sterling? Why would somebody who is already screwed by a system be concerned by the system itself getting screwed? But what they have done, going back to Brexit, what they have done is made it seem as though all of the people who voted to leave are somehow intrinsically dumb and don't understand how the world works, when in reality, they understand very clearly how it works. They just don't agree with how it works, and they disagree with how it works so much that they're willing to just let the whole thing fall down underneath itself. I think the global elite, I think the top, not just the top 1%, but also the top 1%, the people who've gone to the top schools, the education elite, the political elite, the media elite, all of those people who are so far removed from the average ordinary experience of the average citizen of the world, right? Not just America, but citizens of the world. They have no context by which they can understand why somebody would say to hell with the entire damn system. And because of that, they not only have sealed their own fate, so to speak, they've also precluded any means of understanding their mistakes.